All right, all right. So, I decided to go live because I actually wanted to talk about this because I thought it was just really interesting. Like anybody who's into spirituality or just whoever's on their path, whatever your path may be, whether it be Christianity. Like I'm not really like about that. Like I'm like to each his own. Like if you're Christian or whatever, like your belief systems are. Like I accept it all basically, right? Um, like I grew up, what is it, Catholic, right? Like Catholic schools and all that kind of stuff like that, and like I was always very much. I used to question everything, right? I'm like, well, then if there's a God, well, who created God? And like like it's one of those situations where like when they used to babysit me, I used to get. Uh, one of my babysitters when I was really young, she was like very like heavily like religious and stuff like that, and like me even just like I remember one day I brought up like the movie The Exorcist and like exorcism and stuff like that, and like they were just so strictly against it to the point where they didn't even want to talk about it. And like I can understand why, but it was just like so like I was so like how come I can't get any answers, like how come I can't get any straight answers or like anything like that. And then I don't know, like I was never really religious per se, like, but I do think there's value in religion because I kind of feel like all religion really is just different cultures, just different cultures and stuff like that around the world trying to explain spirituality and stuff like that. Because like when you look at the story of Jesus, it's based on like Krishna and like it's the same story being repeated, like throughout history and stuff like that. What is it? Amun Ra is basically like Jesus, and then like Krishna is like Jesus. It's the same story, basically, kind of like being rehashed throughout history and stuff like that. And depending on the culture, it'll be like it'll be slightly different, but overall it's the same thing. It's like the Christ consciousness. Um, Yeshua. I don't like to use the word like I don't like. Well, fuck. See, this is what I mean. Like the thing I hate about it is like whenever I try to have a conversation about this kind of stuff with somebody, they go on this whole like you're gonna go to hell. Jesus said this, that, so forth and so on. You have to go through me. There is no other way. Like like just all like there's just certain things where I'm just like, well, I'm pretty sure if Jesus came down and he seen a bunch of people wearing like wearing a fucking crucifix, like that, you're not supposed to worship idols, but the first thing that happens when you go into a church, they're worshiping idols and shit like that. Like it doesn't make any sense. And like Jesus was obviously not fucking white. He was obviously melanated, especially based on the area in which all of this was. And the Bible is not really supposed to be taken literally. Maybe there are some things in the Bible, like for example, treat others like you want to be treated. I would take that literally. I wouldn't take that as an allegory or a metaphor or anything like that, right? And I think that's the big problem nowadays is that people take the Bible literally, and you get like different factions and Catholic, Christian, people that read the Quran and all that kind of stuff like that, and it's like I've met people that are like Satanists, right? Like if you actually look at the Satanic Bible and stuff like that, like I'm not a Satanist, a Christian, or any of these labels. I'm not an I would consider myself spiritual because I know there's a higher power, and whether the higher power be something that I created within myself, or it's external, like, because external, see, this is the thing, like people say like the esoteric knowledge is more important than the exoteric knowledge, but I think it's more of being able to take the inner esoteric knowledge and be able to, like correlate it with like the external and stuff like that. And like this is where like clairaudient and clairvoyant and like all these different clairs come in like that, right? Like for example, like say if you're walking down the street and somebody were driving their car past you, and on the radio it would say something like it would have a particular message, like they would say something like don't go left, or whatever, like whatever the message may be. um 9 times out of 10, well, for me anyways, I'll usually like pick up on that, and then I'll listen to the message, and then I'll go right instead, and then sure enough, like you find out later, yeah, like something happened, like like or whatever, right? But it's even gotten to the point now where even if I'm in a situation where there's people that are in a state of fear, like I was walking into the bus terminal today to go to the ATM, and like there's these two fucking tweakers. Buddy was like gonna go hit him with a stick and shit like that, and like they were attacking each other. Like as I walked in, the whole thing started, and I was just like, whatever. And I just walked in and went to the ATM machine, which is like pretty much like right by like where they are, and I just ignored the whole situation. I just let them do their thing. The security card came out, and like people are looking at me funny because I'm not really paying attention to the whole thing. Everybody's like, like the commotion. They're all just like whatever, right? I kind of just walk in. I like, like whatever. Go to the ATM. Whatever. Oh, it can only take $400 at a time. Okay, whatever. Take my card back. And then I kind of like walk away, look at the clock, and then I come back and I'm looking at that. The whole thing's going on still. I'm just like, ah, fuck this, like whatever, right? And it was just so weird, like how I dealt with the situation would be a lot more different than somebody else may deal with the situation, right? They'd be like, oh, these guys are whatever, and they would just they'd probably just turn the other way. They probably wouldn't even enter the building, right? Yeah, it kind of showed to me that it's kind of the same thing too. Like people smell fear, right? But if the fear is being purposely projected onto you, and like like people are purposely trying to fuck with you and put you in a state of fear, that's very, like, for me it's really easy to pick up on that. And like I act usually accordingly, which is the opposite, and don't feel any fear whatsoever because I know it's being you know and usually that only happens when I'm in a very weakened state, and then I'm like, okay, yeah. To me that kind of just proves how weak motherfuckers are, because they tend to attack you when you're in your weak state, right? But they'll never attack you with like when you're. And this is why I've learned to be on my A game even when I'm not on my A game, kind of thing. Like if I'm walking home drunk and on drugs and shit like that, that's going to be a hell of a lot more of a challenge for me to get home from the destination A to destination B than it is for me to just like be living a normal sober life. And shout out to sober people or whatever. Like I like, to me, I don't really give a shit about whether you're in a sober state of mind or if you're under the influence of a particular substance. To me, I'm far beyond that kind of a thing. As long as you're not fucking with me and going out of your way to fuck me over or other people over to get your shit or whatever, then I don't really care. Like, to each his own. And another thing that gets me too is like people are like, okay, based on your diet and so forth and so on, uh, somehow you're automatically operating in a lower vibrational frequency if you're under the influence of a substance. Which to me, I can understand that, And to to a large degree, that is true. But just because you're on a substance doesn't mean that you're operating from a lower vibrational frequency. You could already just naturally be vibrating high, and then you take a drug, and that might even enhance your vibration or lower it. It really depends, right? And then like I get this, I've been getting a lot of this like food propaganda type thing where it's like oh, if you eat meat you automatically have parasites, da 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 da, so forth and so on. You already know. um like they act as if like a BLT wouldn't taste good, like if you didn't have a parasite. Like say for example, I didn't have any parasites whatsoever, and I have a craving for a BLT. I have a craving for a BLT. Like, so what of it? You know what I mean? Like, there's this whole like people are fighting over like fucking like what. I don't give a shit what the fuck you eat in a day. Like, I don't care if you're fasting or if you're fucking a glutton or any of that shit. I really don't feel that matters. Like, I actually feel like a lot of it's kind of stupid. You know what I mean? Like, well, why is it that I can still be on your level and still talk to you, be coherent, and so forth and so on. Like the only time, like for me, like when drugs really become a problem is when shit's going fucked up, and obviously if I take too many fucking drugs, obviously. But like I just don't really understand the mentality of it, because to me it's like sobriety is not superior. It's not. I don't know. Like I don't like it's like people talk to me as if I've never been fucking sober before or something. You know what I mean? Like I don't. It's if I get high on a drug and then I go around a certain group of people and I get like, I get a certain vibe or whatever, and then I'm in a bad, it can still put me in a bad mood, and I can still have a shit time regardless if I'm on drugs or if I'm sober. So it's like yeah, like I get it. I completely understand like where people are coming from, because usually it's a situation where like they watch their siblings or they've been through a situation where it was like the worst case scenario, like whatever the fuck, right? Like for me, I've never really had that problem. I've been in situations where I was like involved with the drug dealing and stuff like that, and I was just like, okay, well, this is not really for me. And most of the people that I know that were successful drug dealers and stuff like that, and they weren't even drug dealers. They didn't deal with people on the streets. They would only cater to a certain clientele and all that kind of stuff like that. So it wasn't the same thing. You know what I mean? Like they wouldn't deal their shit to like a fiend. Like if you know what I mean, right? So I kind of had this whole experience in my life where I watched all walks of life. It had nothing to do with you being homeless or anything like that. Like as soon as you like, okay, like it's the same thing with tarot readings too. I'll be sitting there listening to a tarot reading, and they'll be like, "Oh, you on drugs or alcohol and stuff like that." It's always associated with negativity, which to me is it's idiotic, and it's moronic, because I don't want any of that kind of shit be going on in my life, or all the negativity and the stereotypes happening to me. I wouldn't do it if the result, like don't get me wrong, there are certain aspects of it that are, just stupid, right? Especially with certain drugs, like the harder drugs, especially, right? Because you got to deal with, like whatever, right? Unless you got the plug and shit like that. But not everybody is fucking smoking fentanyl and like nodding off on the fucking streets and all that kind of shit. It's highly over exaggerated. I'm not saying that it's not a problem, and you just have to understand. Like I'm giving you a realistic, unbiased point of view of the whole situation. And unless you're going to the homeless shelters and like like chilling out with the street people, yeah, you're gonna see that and stuff like that. But it's like whatever happened to responsible drug use, and when is it that drugs are associated with negativity and automatically lower vibrational frequencies? Like that doesn't make any sense to me, because some of the most profound and meaningful experiences I've ever had were on drugs. More of them were when I was on drugs than off of them. Have I had really yeah, like it, yeah, of course. Of course. But okay, like if you gotta fucking go and give somebody fucking oral pleasure to get a fix, there's something fucking wrong with you. And the addiction is not that fucking powerful. You're weak. You just will do anything to get a fucking fix. And then it puts this stupid stereotype. Like, to me, it's so fucking dumb, because okay, you're going out of your way to fuck people over to get a fix. Oh, I'm dope sick. All the you can say all the excuses in the world, right? At the end of the day, you're taking a substance, right? It has an effect, and then the effect wears off. And depending on what substance you're using, you're gonna have like a withdrawal effect, right? Like, for example, when I take amphetamines and then I come off of the amphetamine, it's more of a psychological thing. It's more of like, like I feel drained and I feel like I have to take like a dose, to keep going. It's not like I'm gonna die, like all this stupid shit. And like, even when I did fentanyl, like I've never really liked opioids or downers or anything like that to begin with. Like, when they're actually used for what they're supposed to be used for, which is for pain, right? And used, like in a prescription, and then like once the pain is gone, you stop taking them, and then yeah, they're very effective. They do what they're meant to do. Like, I just don't get it. Like, and if anybody understands addiction, it's fucking me, right? And I just don't understand it, because I go to the shelter and I'm educating them and stuff like that, and I see what goes on, but then they see me and then they see the complete opposite of that. Like, I'm like sitting there watching Buddy, and I sat there and waited with the guy while he nodded off, so nobody would steal his fucking drugs, right? Like who the fuck, like who does that, right? Anyways, I don't know. To me, it's stupid. There's a lot of things going on right now. A lot of problems in the world. Like fucking banks are fucking whatever. But if we can't even get the drug problem right, what makes what makes you think that the fucking shit's gonna correct itself? It's fucking stupid to me. It's like, you can't have a war on a fucking drug. It's just like you can't have a war on terror. Like what are you gonna do? Like, once you caught the terror, like Steve Hughes says in his fucking comedy stand up and shit like that. It's like, it's almost like the bag of meth has me at like gunpoint, and it's like, do it, bro. You're not in control. You have no control whatsoever. It's just like, fuck off, man. It baffles me, and it's dumb. And they already put you in that mentality, like, straight up right off the bat. Here's your brain on drugs. Just say no, so forth and so on. Da 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 da. Here's what's gonna happen to you. Well, geez, I wonder why that happens, man. And then when I moved out west, I seen like a whole like the whole other side of it too, and I'm just like, well, then what the fuck are you talking about? There's people that are doing crystal meth that are fucking like millionaires and shit like that. They're probably sitting here, like they're probably like driving by the people on Hastings and Main and Hastings and Vancouver, and just like laughing at them, like, while they're high on drugs, looking at them. It's what the fuck, right? Um, and yeah, pharmacy, it is sorcery. So a lot of you guys you're under sorcery and you don't even know it. So it's gonna affect you in a different way. The more you know about something, the more control you have over it, right? So I think people should I don't know, just you know, they really do need to just legalize and regulate certain things, because obviously you can still get it anyway. So what's like what the fuck, you know? They're like, well, you're enabling people to get. It's like, hey, you can get the drugs anyway. It's illegal, and you can still get the drugs. So, what would you much rather have? What we have right now, which is just completely retarded, or like, say for example, a class where you go to and you listen, you know, like you hear from people like me that will properly educate you whether you're going to do it or not, because people are going to do it regardless if you like it or not. Would you rather have somebody going into it, you know, like going into it with an educated, like more purposeful, instead of just like, oh, I just want to get high, whatever. I don't know. I'm gonna leave a link in the description, um, from a guy who actually wrote a book. Excellent book, by the way. I thank you, man. I appreciate you, because if he didn't do it, it was gonna be me. I was gonna be the next person to write this book, because this is all I was saying. I wasn't trying to advocate for people to do drugs or anything like that. I was just trying to give people a realistic, unbiased perspective on how it is, and like this is based on my experience, not based on the faces of meth or whatever the fuck. Obviously, you can see. Do I look like the faces of meth? No, I still look young and whatever. And look, I still have my teeth too, right? My teeth should be gone, right? Especially considering how much fucking meth I've done in my life, right? So I don't know. I'll leave it at that. The next videos that I make, I really don't want to be talking about the drugs too much, because people just don't seem to get it. They want to fight with me and whatever. It's always negative, 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 like whatever. But I don't know. Like I didn't go through all these experiences and do all these things just for me to be like, you know, like just to be looked over and like, you know, like whatever the fuck, right? It bothers me a lot, because I'm just tired of being fucking lied to, and like tired of not being able to, you know, like if I want to put something in my body or whatever, that's my choice, not your choice. And at the end of the day, to each his own, you know, like just stay healthy, maintain your health. You can maintain your health and whatever. Just I just don't think people are being properly educated. And if you do want to get properly educated, do your research. Talk to people like me that are experienced. Don't believe the hype. You know, like try it for yourself. It something that you take may be beneficial to you, and then another person may take it and it can do the complete opposite. Right? This is what I'm saying. So it's an addiction. Addictions come in many forms, man. Trust me. There's people that are fucking like harping on me for, you know, whatever things I do, but meanwhile they're addicted to whatever, you know, like drinking their coffee, smoking a cigarette. They're like fucking addict. I'm just like, what the fuck? Okay, whatever. All right. Anyways, you guys have a good weekend. Be safe. And don't do drugs. But yeah, I'm gonna leave those links after, and also a music video that I found is actually really funny. So take care. Peace.